Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're taking a look at a brand new Pokemon in the world of Pokemon Go, Toadscruel. Toadscruel is a grass and ground type Pokemon with the exact same stats as Tentacruel. Its base form, Toadscruel, can be encountered in either forest or grassland biomes. It genuinely has a really nice moveset. Mud Slap is the fast move, and 4 viable charge moves: Wrap, Earth Power, Acid Spray, and Seed Bomb. Today, I'm going to be testing out the Wrap Earth Power combination, but genuinely, I believe this mon could have success with a lot of different charge move combinations. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and in game number 1, we pick up a very neutral lead, Toadscruel into Shadow Scizor. Toadscruel does have the ability to just 2-shield through the Shadow Scizor if it wants to, so I'm going to invest in early shield. My backline really does not want to see Scizor considering its Shadow Drapion and Lapras, and now I will fire off the Wrap. Wrap into the Scizor is no shielded, but with the debuff, the next Mud Slap will pick up the knockout. Opponent is now going to send out Galarian Corsola. Corsola is going to get an incredibly aggressive farm down, but I have a Shadow Drapion, so I'm pretty okay with that. Toadscruel put in so much work into their team. I bring in the Drapion, and unfortunately, I forgot to do the tab in, tab out, so my fast move gets denied. They go for the Power Gem, and that actually ends up costing me in a massive way, as now I could have CMP-tied if I got my fast move through, but instead, I'm 1 short. But in the back, it's the perfect Pokemon for Lapras to see. It is Azumarill. Even though I'm down 2 shields, I should still be in a pretty okay spot as long as I'm able to successfully bait once with Sparkling Aria. The first move will always have to be the Skull Bash because I need to ramp up my defense and make it a lot more difficult to remove Lapras from the field of play. These Psywaves do add up quite a bit as well. Opponent can go for Play Rough number 2, but thanks to my buff defense, I am not going to have to worry about getting knocked out here. So I farm up to the back-to-back Sparkling Arias, and I will go for the bait. I need to get a shield from my opponent, which I do. They bring in Corsola, and now I get to send in Drapion. Drapion will get to fire off the Aqua Tail, and at this point, this game is over because I have the move loaded on Lapras. Lapras obviously going to win charge attack priority over the Azumarill, and I can get to 2 crunches. I end up getting a defense drop, but realistically, this wasn't even needed to get the win, because even if I didn't get the defense drop and crunch didn't KO, I have the move loaded on the Lapras. We move to game number 2, and this is a problem Pokemon for the team, Toadscruel into Shadow Annihilate. Now, there are really 2 schools of thought here. You can either shield and then end up firing off the Wrap, anticipating they're going to shield, or you can just full send the Earth Power. I decided to go for the Earth Power because I'm hoping an opponent will try and call a Wrap bait, and they do. Down goes Annihilate. Annihilate would have been a pretty big problem for this backline. In comes Lapras, and I pivot out into the Shadow Drapion. Honestly, I don't really need to pivot out in this scenario, but I just really didn't want to give the Lapras an energy head start. Drapion will get outpaced here as Lapras will fire off a charge attack right before it gets to the crunch. It is just the Sparkling Aria. Drapion obviously able to hang on and fire off the crunch. Crunch is going to be shielded. Lapras looking for the farm down. Drapion doesn't even get an Aqua Tail. And now I'm going to bring in my own Lapras. In the back, that is a Water Gun Lantern. Let's go Toadscruel. Now this is where a move like Wrap is really nice. My opponent is switch locked, and I just get to debuff their defense more and more and more. And these Mud Slaps are just deleting the poor Lantern. As long as I can just get rid of the Lantern, I should be in a pretty okay spot. I did debate letting that move go from the Lantern and just Psy-waving down with the Lapras, but I think either way, I should just be in a winning position here, as even if they have Skull Bash, I just have too much of a health advantage, and my opponent will concede the match. Dream lead in the next match, Toadscruel into Shadow Marowak. Toadscruel is the Mud Slapper that beats all other Mud Slappers. Here, I try for an Ice Punch catch, I am unsuccessful, and now we're in the Lapras Dusclops matchup. Dusclops will fire off the Shadow Punch, and I immediately realize that my opponent is running, if I'm not mistaken, a very high defense Dusclops. Normally, Psywave does a lot of damage in this matchup against Dusclops, but if Dusclops has a really high defense stat, then it reduces the Psywave damage and actually makes it a losing matchup. And that's really, really bad for me, because I really need to keep alignment. My opponent will get to fire off the Shadow Punch, and I think I'm in a bit of a tricky spot. I should have just brought the Drapion into the Dusclops, and then I would have been fine, but I tried to get fancy, and that's actually going to cost me here. My opponent decides to give me switch advantage, but now I'm down a shield. I tab in and out. In the back is Fortress. I build up to the Earth Power, and I'm baiting with the Wrap. Wrap gets no shielded. Oh, that is really unfortunate. I should have just gone for the Earth Power. And now it's an endgame where my opponent is debuffed, but the switch clocks are misaligned. Aqua Tail bait is going to be successful. My opponent will be firing off the charge attack. I burn the final shield of the match on a Rock Tomb. The clocks being misaligned is really bad for me here because my opponent will be able to preserve this fortress. They can now switch into the Marowak. Marowak will get the Mud Slap through, which means my Drapion has been removed from the field of play. And now in comes Toadscruel. I'm going to have to go for a farm down and hope that an Earth Power will knock out, but I think the fortress is still just too healthy. Here, my opponent does end up going for the Rock Slide. Bone Club will do more because both are single resisted, but this is day one of a new Mon, so people aren't necessarily going to know the exact type interactions because realistically, we haven't had a viable Grass Ground type before. The Earth Power lands, it's not enough, and I will lose that game. We move to the next match, Toadscruel versus Jellicent. Now, this matchup is probably fine to stay in as the Toadscruel, but if I can catch a Shadow Ball, I would love to catch a Shadow Ball. So I switch into the Drapion as they make the Shadow Ball, but they surf baited, and suddenly I'm on the defensive in this game. Jellicent will get to another surf before I can get to my move, so I'm forced to go down a shield. Out comes Fortress. It's a Shadow Fortress. Very interesting choice by my opponent. Crunch is going to land. That's big damage. Opponent looking for the farm down here. I get the last second crunch. I think I got damage registration error there. So that was some pretty good luck on my part to get that final move. I'm going to bring in the Toadscruel. Toadscruel is going to be fully walling off the charge moves from Fortress, as Sand Tomb and Rock Tomb are both going to be resisted. Obviously, Bug Bites hit for super effective damage, but being able to sponge this energy is quite nice. I wrap and I farm down. This will leave me pretty close to an Earth Power versus the Jellicent. Earth Power, not going to knock out, but will do a solid amount of damage. I bring in the Lapras. They're staying in, and they will fire off the Shadow Ball. I'm going to commit the shield on the Lapras. What do they have in the back? They have Typhlosion, and I throw exactly 9 Psy Waves. This puts me at 19 total Psy Waves for the match, 4 off of the second Sparkling Aria. We outpaced their Blast Burn by 1 singular turn. If I had missed even 1 Psy Wave with imprecise move timing, I would have lost, but thankfully we're able to get the win. Great lead in the next match. Toadscruel into Steelix, opponent safe switches into Jumpluff, and I will respond with Drapion. Honestly, I was very slow with the Drapion switch in here. When team building around this Mon, I felt it was difficult to cover all of its weaknesses. I think it's a really interesting core breaker. It's probably going to see its best play in the Ultra League, but I think in the Great League, it's probably still a very playable Mon in the right hands. Here, I commit 2 shields, and I shield 2 Aerial Aces. That just feels absolutely awful. Oh my goodness. They're going to take the 2-0 shield advantage, and now back in comes Steelix. Steelix will take quite a bit of damage from Aqua Tail, but importantly, it does not 2-shot. I just continue to farm, going for another Aqua Tail, and we end up CMP tying here. This works out for me because I should survive even a Breaking Swipe here. It would be very close, but I think I can hang on very low health. They go for the Crunch, I switch Lapras, it's Azumarill in the back, and this game at this point should be a win. Azumarill even down 2 shields to a Skull Bash Lapras. It just struggles so severely. I get to very comfortably survive an Earth Power and then ramp up my defense with the Skull Bash. They can shield all they want. Their hope in this game is to try and bank energy and then later in the game try and land an Ice Beam onto Toadscruel, but Toadscruel has Tentacruel stats, and that means that an Ice Beam from Azumarill, even though it's double super effective, it's just simply not going to KO from full HP. So my opponent will end up going for the double shield. I continue to farm up a ton of energy. I simul switch, hoping for the catch. They were hoping for a catch as well, or a snipe down. Now I get to bring in the Toadscruel, and this is the moment of truth. They needed to one-shot, and it's just not gonna one-shot. Toadscruel survives the double super effective Ice Beam, and my opponent will resign the match. Toadscruel into Azumarill. This is a very bad lead. I am ABA weak to Azumarill on this team. Toadscruel has a pretty poor matchup here. I can survive an Ice Beam from full, but it's not going to be a fun matchup by any means. so I will fire off the Wrap. Wrap obviously gets the guaranteed defense drop. This is where having Seed Bomb would be really nice. I do think there is absolute merit to having Seed Bomb on Toadscruel. Just with my team building, I am extremely weak to Bug Steel, so I wanted a charge move that could hit Bug Steel for neutral damage as well. This is a Shadow Diggersby on the save swap. What a pick from my opponent. Oh my goodness. Shadow Diggersby. These Scorching Sands hurt way more than from a regular Diggersby. My opponent will outpace by one singular turn here, firing off their Scorching Sands. I commit the shield, and I do get debuffed. That's unfortunate, as that means they should be able to survive this Sparkling Aria. I am at the back-to-back, though. So Sparkling Aria gets shielded. They should click the move here, so I'm just going to catch the Scorching Sands onto Toadscruel. Toadscruel, more than happy to absorb that hit. No debuff comes through. I will outpace to get the Earth Power, but now it's their turn to catch as they catch the Earth Power onto Azumarill. Earth Power is going to land. My opponent will outpace here. So unless they overfarm, which they do not, I'm getting KO'd. But this is honestly ideal because this is going to set up a nasty Shadow Drapion farm down. Shadow Drapion, look at it go. The 6 Poison Sting head start. They can't bring in the Diggersby because they're Shadow. They'll just get knocked out by an Aqua Tail. They'll have to bring in the third. In the back is Clodsire, and this game is over. Being up 6 stings here means that I will get my third Aqua Tail when they make the Earthquake, and it doesn't matter what the Aqua Tail lands on. Either Pokemon getting knocked out by the Aqua Tail will lose them the game. And Shadow Drapion, just an absolute masterclass in this one. Oh my goodness. In comes the Shadow Diggersby. We're going to get a fancy catch. Did we have to catch here? Absolutely not. But sometimes it's just fun to go for a catch in a game. So we end up catching the Scorching Sands. We could have just sniped with the move on Lapras, but I felt like having some fun. We KO with the Aqua Tail and take the win. Toadscruel into Regidrago. Not having a Dragon Resist means Regidrago is going to be an absolute headache for this team to deal with. Regidrago strikes first with the Breaking Swipe. If I don't get debuffed, I will stay in to throw a move, but I do get debuffed. So I bank the Earth Power, I send in the Drapion, and out comes Fortress. Fortress will take quite a bit of damage from Crunch, but if they have a good Fortress, then they can survive too. Looks like their Fortress is pretty decent. This doesn't appear to be enough for a Rock Tomb, so I'm going to let this through. It is going to be the Sand Tomb. Sand Tomb will not be enough to knock out, but my Crunch won't KO either, so they can actually survive here. My opponent realizes this. They let it go, but it turns out their Fortress isn't quite good enough as they actually get switch flipped. In comes Blastoise. Blastoise immediately put under pressure from the Wrap. Wrap into the Blastoise is going to be no shielded. Blastoise will be firing off this Hydro Cannon. It hits for neutral and it would KO, so I will commit the shield. In comes Regidrago, and I'm just going for another Wrap. Wrap into the Regidrago is going to be no shielded. I bring in the Lapras, and my opponent is just going to settle for a Breaking Swipe. Will they get the debuff here? No, they will not. Lapras looking for the farm down here. Regidrago makes one final move. Oh, that is devastating. The Breaking Swipe gets the debuff. And now, unfortunately, with them making that final move, I lose this game because I don't have the energy needed on Toadscruel. I have to throw the Sparkling Arias just to burn the switch clock, but Toadscruel cannot get a Wrap before they will get a double up on Hydro Cannons. Oh my goodness, the Regidrago, one of my favorite Pokemon, unfortunately coming back to haunt me in this game as it's just too good. I'm one Mud Slap short of the Wrap needed to win this game. Hydro Cannon will KO, and Lapras is just too low. We're getting rollouted down, and that will be a loss. Ooh, we've got a really fun Pokemon to see in the next match. Toadscruel into Runerigus. Runerigus, a Pokemon that I recently ran to great success on the leaderboards. Runerigus will strike first with the Brutal Swing, as Rock Tomb is going to be resisted. I go for the Earth Power. They make a very nice catch onto Regidrago. Regidrago takes some pretty significant damage. I do not want to let them get a Dragon Energy, so I bring in the Lapras, and I'll just fire off this Sparkling Aria. They're low enough that even though this is resisted, it should still knock out. I no longer have energy on any of my Mons, but my Mons are all still very, very healthy. They're going to bring in Fortress as their final Pokemon. It looks like that might be an XXL Fortress, as that definitely looks to be like a taller Fortress than most that I've seen. So we are dealing with a very large Fortress in this final game. I fire off a Sparkling Aria, they're going to no shield, and I switch into Toadscruel because I know that I'm a wall to their energy. They can fire off a move, but I resist it all. They go for the Rock Tomb, they're looking for the farm down. We do not get the Wrap as the Bug Bites will KO, but I'm feeling pretty good about my ability to win this game. In comes the Drapion, immediately put under pressure from the fortress. I shield and I get the call right as that's the Rock Tomb. I will look to overfarm because I will need residual energy for that Runerigus. This Aqua Tail will knock out. Opponent is going to commit the shield. They're firing off a move right before I get there. This should be the Sand Tomb. I'm now going to be very heavily debuffed. There's a switch into Runerigus. I bank that crunch for later, send in the Lapras, and my opponent has the perfect overfarm. However, I can win charge tech priority here. So in comes the Drapion, we deny their energy, and now they just can't farm me down with bug bites before I get to my Aqua Tail. In comes the Fortress, opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. All in all, I think Toadscruel is one of the better releases that they've had in a while. Toadscruel, it has a pretty nice type in Grass Ground. We've never seen a viable Grass Ground type before, and I think it has a unique niche as the Mud Slapper that just completely destroys all other Mud Slappers. I do think this Pokemon will be at its strongest in the Ultra League, but it's going to be expensive to make for the Ultra League. And since it has the same stats as Tentacruel, we know how many XLs Tentacruel needs for the Ultra League. Toadscruel is going to require a pretty healthy XL investment, as the rank 1 Toadscruel at 0, 13, 15 does require a level 50, which is 296 XLs. So during this event, I do think it's absolutely worth trying to get the XLs for Ultra League Toadscruel, as I think that's going to be where it's at its strongest. It should be a pretty playable mon in the Open Great League, which is very nice. I could definitely see good players picking it up, finding a good team that's able to support it well, and having success with it. I do think one of the most difficult things when playing against Toadscruel will be what moves is it running, because it realistically could run any of its 4 moves. Acid Spray and Wrap have the exact same energy cost, so are they going to go for a Wrap that can actually do damage, or an Acid Spray that does no damage but debuffs your defense by -2? Seed Bomb can be a really nice surprise for the water types in the meta, and Earth Power, as we saw, can be helpful against the Bug Steels. So overall, I think this is a pretty cool Pokemon. I'm happy to see a Grass Ground type that has a bit of viability. I think it's a solid anti-meta Open Great League Pokemon. I think in the Ultra League is where it may potentially creep into meta status, but I think we'll have to see who can actually get the XLs for this mon, because it is a very XL heavy mon for the Ultra League. I'm going to try and get the XLs, but 296 XLs in an event that, let's see, is only like, what, 5 or 6 days is a pretty tall ask. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.